Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about my OSCP journey. I've been doing my OSCP. I did it like about 2 months ago. I started my preparation last year, December, and did my exam, and I actually passed, and I passed with 100 points. I saw it better to talk about my experience, what I did, what I could have done better, and maybe it could have helped somebody that is actually doing OSCP as we speak right now. We are going to go through exactly how my setup was like, what I practiced, how I did my reports, what are the kind of challenges that I faced, so that you might actually be a bit more prepared whenever you'll be starting to do your exams. You might be asking yourself, first of all, exactly, how exactly did I pay for it? Funny enough, I didn't pay for OECP. I have a team which we usually do capture the flag challenges with. So in 2021, we did an Africa hack on CTF. We became the second, and we got some OECP voucher. So basically, that's how I got a voucher to do OECP. Given the fact that right now in the market, you'll find that OSCP is actually a really expensive course. So for you to be able to afford it, maybe you'll have to, save up some cash to be able to buy the course. I was looking at, the amount of payment somebody had to pay this morning. You'll find that you need at least $1,600 for you to get you know, the minimum package for you to do OSCP. So without $1,600, you can't actually do OACP. But if it's something you can afford, it's something that you can actually do. But I feel like if you feel like it's necessary for you to be able to do that course right now, you might be, able to save up some cash. Then probably, within a few months, be in a position to actually do the course. What we did was we redeemed the voucher on 19th of December of 2022. That is when we actually started doing our courses. And we had some specific goals that we had in mind. Like, first of all, we needed to create a study schedule because we understood that the exam is going to be a bit more extensive. So we actually had to learn a lot. So the other thing is we wanted to do at least 60 labs. We've had, that people who do much more labs, they are in a better position to uh, pass the exam rather than if you do less boxes. So our aim was to ensure that we do a lot of labs, probably 60 labs and above, because it actually increases the chances of us passing the exams. The next thing is, we wanted to practice in both CTFs, in either try Acme or even hack the box. But you'll come to find out later on that, time was actually not on our side. So this is something that we didn't manage to do when we were actually doing the box. So the next thing was we try to say that if possible, before we do the exam, we try to simulate a real exam whereby we have like 3 standalone machines, then an Active Directory domain controller setup environment, and try to time ourselves within 24 hours to see exactly how we are going to perform, so that it will give us a better idea of where we are at if we decided to do exam on that specific day. Then the next thing was, my goal was trying to find a partner. The thing is, given the fact that my team, the one that I usually do CTFs with, also got the vouchers, it put me in a better position because I had study partners, someone that could actually push me to do the labs, to do the courses, to do the exams. So basically, it's a really good idea whenever you're doing OECP to ensure that you team up with someone that is also doing, because it will act as some sort of an encouragement when you'll be doing the boxes. Then the next thing is taking as much notes as possible. When you'll be doing the exam, I want you to remember that it's some sort of an open book exam whereby you can refer to as many materials as you can, so long as it's allowed by OSCP OffSec team. So I had written a lot of notes on exactly, the different kind of attacks, including command execution, fixing up exploits, Active Directory exploitation, which tools to use and where, the different kind of enumerations, the different tools to use for different scenarios. And, it's easier to go through the notes whenever you're doing the exam rather than, going to Google for tools, because the tools that you're actually normally using for your studying didn't actually work. So note taking is one of the most important things that you can actually do whenever you'll be trying to study for OSCP. Then the next thing was to ensure that, I have a good webcam, I had a good Wi-Fi adapter before the exams, because these things actually do matter. It's really bad if you find that during your exam day, your webcam just decides to fail, or Wi-Fi doesn't work. So it's a good thing, and I as early as possible, I try to procure these devices to ensure that my exam was going to be smoothless. So you might be asking right now, how exactly was my setup looking like? And I don't have a crazy setup. I just, I have a Dell Optiplex 7060 that has the following specs. So one of it is it has a 24 GB RAM. It's using a Core i5. Then it has a 500 GB SSD, 500 GB HDD. Then inside the SSD, I've installed two virtual machines. One is a Kali Linux operating system. Then the second one is a Windows 11 developers version VM. The purpose of installing Windows 11 developers VM was because sometimes you'll need to compile exploits. If you get a C# exploits, you have Visual Studio, it's easy to actually compile it. That's why I have it. I have two 4K monitors, but the thing is, this is not necessary. Even one monitor is enough. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 4K monitor. Then I recommend, but it's not mandatory, if you have a UPS, an uninterrupted power supply, in case power goes out, you can actually have some reserved power to keep you through while you wait for the power to come back. Power didn't go out on my exam. A UPS I didn't have at that specific day, but actually things worked out. So what happened before and up to the exams, you might be asking yourself. So what I did was, from 19th December 2022 to about 14th of March of 2023, I managed to do 39 labs, and my coursework, I had managed to finish all coursework except Buffer Overflow, both Windows and Linux. And I had already gone through the entire course content. That includes the video and the PDF. And you might be asking yourself right now, exactly, why was my progress low? Remember, I had committed myself to complete at least 60 boxes before the exams. The reason is because I actually have a full-time day job. So I work from 8 to 5. So I have to come from work, then from there, try to learn as much as I can before going to bed. That's why my progress was a bit slow. But I had, by this time, I met the minimum requirements for the labs to actually qualify for the 10 points. But at this specific time, OSCP course content changed. They removed buffer overflow from the coursework, and I had not even done buffer overflow at this moment. As far as I'm concerned, buffer overflow wasn't really a great subject for me. It's something that I can do, but I haven't been that good at binary exploitation. So it was something that I had intended to work on at the last. But OffSec decided to remove it from the coursework. So it's something that I didn't have to look at necessarily. But also the OffSec said that if you manage to do the exams within a month when the course had changed, you'll actually qualify for the 10 points if you had not completed the coursework. So, that is what we actually decided to do. What we decided to do was to say that, if possible, what we can actually do is schedule an exam within the 1 month period, then probably focus on doing mostly Windows standalone and Active Directory boxes. So, between the period of December 19th of 2022 to March of 2023, we had actually focused on mostly Active Directory box. We had to learn different techniques, different tools, different frameworks to be used during exploitation. So mostly that is what we focused with. We've done a lot of Linux boxes to understand exactly what's supposed to be expected of us, like, understand how different protocols works, DNS, NFS, HTTP, SMB. So basically we had a pretty solid understanding of exactly what we needed to do with Linux boxes. But when it came to Windows boxes, we felt like we were a little bit weak, and we needed to, try to polish our skills. That's why most of the times you'd find that we decided to do Windows boxes as compared to doing Linux boxes. So what we did was, given the fact that OSCP has given that grace period of 1 month, we just decided to try to find the most appropriate day of us doing our exams. So what we found was that, 9th was going to be a great day for doing the exams. Reason being, it was during the Easter holiday, meaning we had a 4-day public holiday in Kenya. So we could have actually spent Friday, the Good Friday, learning, Saturday learning, then Sunday doing the exams, then Monday, finishing the exams, then Tuesday writing a report. That's why it seemed like the most appropriate date. Given the fact that we usually work, it was hard to get some time off work. So this was actually a perfect time. So that is when we decided to schedule the exams. Then from that 14th of March to 8th of April, that is a day before the exams, we bought a subscription on Busy Practice. Still our main aim and goal was to ensure that, if possible, we do most of the Windows boxes, that is both standalone and Active Directory boxes, and do some released boxes on TryAcme, the ones that probably are released on Fridays. So this is what we actually focused on, and by the end of that specific period, we had actually done 16 boxes. We had done some boxes on TryAcme and also watched all the walkthroughs for the TJ Nile OSCP machines. So, we felt like we had actually prepared ourselves enough. So you might be asking yourself right now that, what is the most appropriate thing to, have before actually doing the exams. So one of the things that I usually recommend is the fact that you need to understand Active Directory exploitation and tools. Basically, AD gives you 40 points on the exam. So if you're the kind of person that is actually weak on Active Directory exploitation, it might be a bit hard for you to do the exams, because it means that you'll have to complete all 3 standalone machines and get the 10 extra points to qualify for a certificate. But with Active Directory box, given the fact that you have that 10 points already, you just have to compromise one standalone machine, get the AD points, then the 10 extra points to get 70 points, and complete the exams. So that was supposed to be the bare minimum. And that's why I'm saying that if you're planning on doing the exams, I really recommend that you become good at, Active Directory. Understand exactly how Bloodhound works, what to look for, understands how Certify works, Mimikatz, understand how EDPs works. Impact is one of the greatest tools out there whenever you're trying to do AD exploitation. So understands, different scenarios. When if I'm trying to do an Active Directory environment where NTLM is disabled, how exactly can I do Kerberos authentication? How does Kerberos work with different tools like LDAP, SMB? you know, uh, Understand exactly how things like roasting works, how ASREP roasting works, how golden tickets and silver tickets work. So have a clear understanding of how these different protocols work and how they can be, and how these vulnerabilities can be exploited whenever you're actually doing this box. Also, another thing that I do recommend is ensuring that you have more than one tool that does a specific job. Like, if you're trying to RDP to a server, our desktop is a good tool, X-Free RDP, but also there is Remina. So if one tool fails, instead of trying to do debugging, try to, first of all, see that uh, all the other tools fails before trying to do debugging. So have different tools that actually do different tasks whenever you're trying to do these boxes. So the second thing is ensuring that your enumeration is on point. Always run enumeration in the background. Like whenever you're trying to exploit a web server, ensure that Go Buster is running, Ferox Buster is running, Nikto is running. So have multiple enumerations, because sometimes you might think that you're actually on the correct path, but it appears that it was a dead end. So also it's a good idea to have a basic understanding on how scripting languages work, and even programming languages, like, understand a bit of coding or scripting with Python and Bash, and also have the ability to read code. Sometimes you'll find that you'll be given a vulnerability, and if you go and look at the exploit, it won't actually work outside the box. So basically you'll have to go through the source code, try to find exactly where the problem is, fix the exploit, then run the exploit to get the desired results. So that's why I recommend it's a good idea to have the ability to both read and write code. It's not necessary. Sometimes you'll find that these exploits work outside the box, but sometimes it might not be the case. So it's a good idea to understand exactly how to both read and write code. The next thing that I do recommend is to, always have the ability to know what stands out in both WinPs and LeanPs output. You'll find that these two tools are one of the best whenever you're trying to do some sort of privilege escalation, but they give you a lot of information. So if you're not used to that information, it can actually lead you down a rabbit hole. So if you do a lot of boxes, you'll come to realize exactly what stands out and what doesn't stand out. And it can actually be the difference between you being able to exploit a box or not. So do as much boxes as you can, run these tools as much as you can, and see exactly what stands out. So the next thing that you need to understand is, understands the tools that are prohibited. It's really a bad thing if you manage to get the 70 points or something greater, then you get disqualified because you use the tool that is actually not allowed in the box. OSCP says that it's up to you as the students to understand which tools perform automatic exploitation. So the thing is, always understand which tools performs automatic exploitation and don't use those tools whenever you'll be doing the exams. Automatic enumeration is fine, but automatic exploitation is actually not allowed. And the last thing is try to understand how to compile exploit, especially for exploits that pertain to Windows exploitation. So basically understands how you can compile these exploits because it might actually help you out in the exam. So these are the few things that I feel like you need before the exams, and ensure you understand well, understand, how to compromise Windows boxes, understands how to compromise Linux boxes, understand how to enumerate Active Directory boxes. Remember, sometimes you'll discover, not even sometimes, most of the times you'll discover that the way you enumerate an Active Directory box is a bit different compared to how you enumerate a standalone Windows box. So understand what are the differences, and have the ability to be able to enumerate these boxes whenever you're trying to do the exams. So how was my exam day like? I scheduled my exams on 9th of April 2023. It was on a Sunday evening. I was supposed to start my exam at about 4 o'clock in the evening. So I woke up early in the morning, went to church, came back, then decided to take a whole 4 hour nap because I knew that I was going to be doing the exams at night, and I didn't want to feel tired or fall asleep. So basically, I just came from church, took a heavy nap, then woke up, prepared my machine, like let me say an hour before the exams, then joined the exams 15 minutes before the actual exams began. So that was 3:45 p.m. Kenyan time. So I went through the verification process. It took a while. So it took close to an hour, which isn't usually the case because I had some problems with my machine. And the OffSec team was kind enough to give me an extra hour. So basically, instead of me having to complete the exam at 3:45 the next day, I completed 4:45 the next day. So I started the exam, and my exam consisted of 3 standalone machines and 1 Active Directory box. So for the standalone machines, there were 2 Windows boxes, which is something I had prepared a lot. Then there was 1 Linux box. Then I had an Active Directory box. So you might be asking yourself, how exactly did I solve the box? So what I did was, first of all, I started with the Linux box. That was from about 4:50 in the evening till about 5:50 in the evening. That is on a Sunday evening. So I got user on the box, never got root. I think I went down a rabbit hole, and I didn't want to continue wasting much time on this box. That's why I actually left it. So after that, what I did was I started doing the Windows standalone machine from 6 p.m. and I got system by 9 p.m. that same day. Then from 10 p.m. I started doing the second Windows standalone machine, and I got use at about 2 in the morning. Yes, at about 2 in the morning, but never got root. So I left this box and then decided to start doing the Windows Active Directory box. So I started at 3 in the morning. then completely focused on AD till about 8 in the morning, whereby I got to the domain admin. So by this specific time, I had about 90 points. That is plus the 10 bonus points that I already got. But I still felt like for the Windows, the second Windows standalone machine, I had an ability to get through. It's just that my exploit kept on failing and I had to do a lot of debugging. So for the next day, what I did was I focused on getting system on the second Windows standalone machine, and by 2 p.m. the next day, I had gotten system. So by this specific time, I already had 100 points, 90 points on the exam, plus the 10 bonus points that people are given if they meet a certain requirement before the exam. So, this is how my points were split. I got the 40 points on AD because I got domain admin. I never got root on the Linux box, but I got user. That is where the 10 points come in. Then I had completely compromised both standalone machines, the Windows machines, and plus the 10 bonus points. So from this, I got 100 points out of 110 points, and that is how I got the 10 points. So what I did was I decided to sleep because I was actually tired. Remember, what happened was I actually didn't sleep during the exams because I had slept during the day. But by the time I was finishing the exam at about 4 in the evening the next day, that was on a Monday, I was actually a bit tired. So I decided to just pack things up, then try to do report writing the next day. But this also almost became my downfall because I came to find that you need almost 10 plus hours to write the report. So it's always a good idea whenever you're trying to do this, if you're doing OSCP, to do the boxes and write the report almost immediately after finishing the course if you have met the enough points to actually pass the exam. So I submitted my report. That was on a Tuesday evening. And then after that, I had to wait for 10 days in my case to get the exam results back. So my friends, the ones that I was actually doing OECB with, they got their results 3 and 4 days later, but I got mine 10 days later. So I actually thought that I had failed the exams. But sometimes I came to realize that it just takes long. It depends on exactly who is actually looking at your exams. So after 10 days, I received a feedback that I had passed my exam, and I had obtained the necessary requirements to get the certification. So it was a really nice thing. I got the certification that proved that I was actually OSCP certified. So you might be asking yourself right now that what are the requirements, what are the recommendations that I can actually give to people that are actually doing OSCP right now. So one of the recommendations is that if you have decided to take the 3-month lab, the 90-day lab, uh, either you got it through a voucher or you decided to pay for it. 3 months are actually not enough. So the thing is, it's highly recommended that you start doing the practice immediately after you subscribe to the course, because I came to realize that 3 months are actually little and not enough to actually cover everything that you actually need. So the next thing is, studying for the OECP exam alone is actually hard. Having a friend, because, if you're doing a box and you get stuck, you might have somebody that can try to look at your methodology, try to see if you made a mistake. So it actually helps a lot whenever you're trying to do these boxes. So the next thing is, having the ability to do reporting on time. So the report requires a lot of attention in ensuring that every screenshot is in place, every explanation meets the required standards. It's really a lot, and given the fact that you want to produce a report that is worth of a pen tester, I'd highly recommend that you start doing the report writing exactly after you complete the exam. So the next thing is, whenever you're trying to study for the exam, don't focus much time on one single problem. You'll find that some of those boxes are actually really hard, especially for the labs. So if you focus much attention on one lab, you'll find that you'll actually waste your time and actually miss opportunities to do other boxes. So the thing is, the community is always willing to help. Go try to look at the hints, try to come back and see exactly if those hints can actually assist you whenever you're trying to do these boxes. So the next thing is try to understand, different tools, different techniques. as I said before, and it actually happened on me. I can't say which exact tool, but there's a tool that actually failed for me, and I had to use a different tool 30 minutes later, and it actually worked. So understands for every protocol, almost 1 to 2 tools that can actually work for that specific protocol. Whenever you're trying to do the exam, and have an ability to understand on which kind of scenarios might this tool fail, and this tool works. Like you can actually find out that whenever you're trying to do AD, one tool works best with password type of authentication, another one works best with Kerberos authentication, another one works best with NTLM authentication. So having these knowledge actually might help you whenever you're trying to do these exams. Then the next thing you need to understand is that fatigue is real. So the thing is, doing an exam for a whole 24 hours, it's actually a lot. And the thing that I recommend is, if you can actually sleep. The thing is, I've tried to train myself to sleep, 4 hours, in a day, and it is actually, more than enough. But the thing is, if you can sleep during the exam, sleep. If you can take breaks, take as much breaks as you can possibly take. This will actually help you whenever you're trying to do these exams. So the next thing is, understand, that different versions of applications might have different bugs. You can find that one application is vulnerable to directory traversal, but if you did, some sort of other enumerations, you'd actually identify that the same application might be vulnerable to a remote code execution. So you might focus on the directory traversal so much that you actually go down a rabbit hole. So it's always good to perform different, enough enumeration to ensure that that's the only vulnerability that specific protocol or application has, before going down and trying to dig deep, trying to understand exactly how you can use that bug to get either a shell, or get remote code execution or file disclosure on that specific machine. So the next thing is, it's easy to miss an enumeration screenshot. Basically, these, almost happened to me when I was doing the box. So it's always good to maximize on, taking as many screenshots as you can while you're actually doing the box. Because, once you move, it's easier to forget that you took a screenshot. Then when you come back to it, you might actually forget and, never take that specific screenshot. So the thing is, another advice that I can actually give is that if you're given an AD boxes, which all the three boxes, including the domain controller, are in the same subnet, there is no roadmap in you solving that specific box. So you can't say that I need to start with this box, then finish with this box. It's always good to enumerate all boxes at once, see what information comes back, and try to piece every information together to actually exploit the box. So it's a good thing to focus your attention on all the boxes. There is no roadmap that says a D box must come last whenever you're trying to do any exploitation. So the next thing is that C2 framework is actually a lifesaver. So what happened during the exams, I remember, was that my VPN connection went down, and I lost all of my shells. But the good thing is, I was using a C2 called Sliver to actually just capture the shells and upload and unload files from the servers. So what I did was, once I set up my environment again, then started Sliver server, the beacons actually connected back to my box without me necessarily having to, re-exploit the boxes again. So it's a good idea to use the C2 boxes, but remember, these C2 sometimes do have automatic exploitation tools. So understand which tools you can use and which tools you cannot use. So don't use an automatic exploitation tool in Sliver. Then what happens is, you complete the exams, think you've passed, then get an exam malpractice. So understands which tools you can use. Like in my case, to be on the safer side, I just use Sliver for uploading and downloading files, then capturing of reverse shells. So that's it. I didn't use Sliver for any other purpose. So the thing is, as I've said before, taking as much breaks as you can, it's a good idea. And the last thing is that, if you're unsure about anything, ask the student mentors. The good thing is, they are there at your disposal. So the thing is, if you feel like something is not adding up, you have the right to ask the student mentor exactly, if this is the correct thing to do, if everything is as it's supposed to be. So the thing is, if you're unsure about anything, if you feel like there's an emergency that you need and you need some help, always reach out. So this was my experience during OSCP. But if there's anything that I can say is that the exam isn't actually hard. I've been in the cybersecurity field for about 3 years now. So I started my journey in 2020. That is when I started learning cybersecurity. Got a job in 2021, and I've been planning to do my exams. For like a year or so right now. So it's been actually a really good experience. And the exams, if somebody tells you that OCPs are hard exams, or it's actually a false narrative, because I did the exam and it's actually simple given the fact that you prepare for the exam adequately. If you decide to go to the exam and you haven't prepared, definitely the exam is actually going to be hard, because you need to understand different techniques and tools that you need to use. But if you prepare adequately, I can promise you one thing, that it's actually one of the easiest exams that you can do. It's actually an entry level exam, according to my opinion. So the thing is, you'll find that these exams might be a bit technical, but with a proper enumeration, if you try to piece information together, because trust me, everything that you need to exploit a box is in the box. So with proper piecing of information, whenever you're trying to do enumeration, it will actually help you whenever you're trying to compromise these specific boxes. So what I do recommend is that do enumeration as much as you can. Understands how different protocols work, like understands between a version 3 of NFS, version 2 of NFS, what's the difference? What were the shortcomings of NFS version 2? What can I do on NFS version 2 that I can't do on NFS version 3? Understands how SMTP protocols work, understand how SNMP protocols work. What tools can I use whenever I'm trying to do an SNMP brute force attacks? Things like that might actually help, because you'll find that, as I've said, different protocols have different ways of enumeration. So it's always a good idea to be at par on exactly what you need to do. And the next thing is understanding that whenever you'll be doing that exams, that the boxes will be patched, will be having the latest patch of a software. So the thing is, don't expect to get some sort of an exploit that wasn't intended. So it's always a good idea to always practice as much as you can, because you can't find, unless it's an intended solution whereby a patch was missed, it won't be something that you'll actually be exploiting in the exam. But as far as I saw it, the exam was a really good opportunity for me. I finished the exam early enough, and I didn't feel overwhelmed as much, because my preparation was actually sound. So unless anyone has questions, you can actually leave them down in the comment. Then once I look through them, I can actually respond on exactly what questions might be having about OSCP. But if it's something that you're planning to do and you actually squared, I can actually promise you, if you practice enough, it's a certification that you can actually do it easily, and even get good points, as I actually did when I was doing the box. So, that is it for today. We're not going to be doing a box, because TrackMe didn't release a box last night. But, probably next week, TrackMe will be releasing a box. Then we'll be going back to solving boxes on TrackMe. But, I believe, that's it for now. Subscribe, like, and comment on the video. And, I'll see you in the next video.